Thank you, ladies and gentlemen, and thank you to the Board of Trade for inviting me here. This is actually the fourth speech that I've written for the Board of Trade. This is the first speech that I delivered on Facebook Live. As soon as you get out of the way. I would have gotten a text from my mother saying, "Get him out of the way." This is pretty much, my Uncle Mike Donovan's in the back. He knows my mother obviously very well. And this is how my mother kept track of me on Canada AM. I would, sometimes be disheveled. They didn't always look after everything, and my tie would be askew, or more often than not, my hair would be out of place. And we'd have a laptop, and when Bev Thompson, my co-host, was doing an interview and the camera was on her, I'd be able to look down and check my email, and it'd be one that says, "Janet O'Regan, fix your hair." So I would, and then there would be a commercial break, and I'd look down, subject line, "That's better." I gave one other speech to the Board of Trade before I got involved in the political racket, and the two before, I wrote for Brian Tobin when he was Premier. And I had a habit of doing them at the last minute because he would have thoughts at the very last minute, and I stayed up very late. I remember one Board of Trade, actually, I did 2 all-nighters. So you can imagine the look on my face when the Premier of the day looked out and said, "Somebody wrote me this speech, but I'm just going to put it to one side." Malcolm Rowe, who now proudly sits on the Supreme Court of Canada, had to physically restrain me, I think, at one point. Very proud of Malcolm Rowe, by the way, I have to say. Malcolm was a guy, I look at Paul there. Paul and I worked with Malcolm back in the day when he was basically running the government. He was the head civil servant. And I think one of the proudest days, certainly in my short time as a member of Parliament so far, has been seeing a Newfoundlander on the Supreme Court of Canada. And I can tell you, not because it was Atlantic Canada's turn, not because it was Newfoundland and Labrador's turn, but because he was the best in the country. He was the best, by far. I'm very proud of him. I'm here today to talk to you about the opportunities that are available to us in uncertain times, and how the Government of Canada, along with the provincial governments of Atlantic Canada, have developed the Atlantic Growth Strategy to help businesses like yours succeed on the world stage. So allow me to be a little more specific. Today I'm going to talk to you about 3 things. First, we're going to have a brief conversation about where we find ourselves today as a province, as a region, and as a country. Second, I'm going to share with you my thoughts on how we seize on the opportunities that are presented by the current global economy. And third, we're going to talk about the Atlantic Growth Strategy and the promise it holds for those of you in the room really bold enough to seize them. So, where do we find ourselves today as a province? To really get a handle on that, you've got to look, I think, at 3 key factors. One of them, demographic. 2, economic. 3rd, political. First, demographic. And this is where I might lose some friends in the audience, but I have a reputation for being frank. Statistically, Atlantic Canada, and particularly Newfoundland and Labrador, is older, more unhealthy, and more sedentary than the rest of Canada. Those are the facts. The problem is those numbers are only going to get worse. So what does that mean? Well, the Board of Trade here has done some extensive public education on this. But the fundamental fact is that we can expect significant increases in expenditures like healthcare while suffering concurrent decreases in tax-based revenues. The province already has an incredibly expensive healthcare system, and it hasn't even been exposed yet to the staggering costs when baby boomers and a record number of people with obesity are in need of elder care. Economically, we're suffering from a similar issue. Traditional industries continue their transition to a modern economy with the underlying theme of requiring less labor, more automation. Now, this is a global phenomenon, and it is an extremely disruptive one. I mean, it's not so much the Mexicans that are stealing those good manufacturing jobs from President Trump's voter base. It's the robots. All this to say that industries like forestry, fisheries, natural resource extraction, they will continue, but they will not be able to sustain the traditional employment levels that we have enjoyed in this province. This has had, and it will continue to have, a substantial impact on how people in this province earn a living, and where exactly they earn a living. Politically, I always think it's a bit redundant to talk about politics with a crowd of Newfoundlanders and Labradorians. I mean, we are all obviously plugged in. But we are plugged into politics, and we rarely have an issue with expressing our opinion on how good or how poorly a government of the day is doing. The issue here isn't one of engagement. The issue, I'm going to say, is one of appreciation. Many of the people advocating for the status quo, whether it be healthcare or immigration or snowplowing, they may not fully appreciate the scale of the problems facing us. If you don't appreciate the scale and the scope of the demographic and economic challenges we face, then it is all too easy to contribute to the issue of political intransigence that has such a firm grip on our province. Give me a moment to explain that a little further. I don't want to sound too doom and gloom. I'm not suggesting that people fail to appreciate the scale of the issues because they are willfully blind to the problems. I'm suggesting that they may fail to appreciate the scale of the problem because the scale itself is nearly incomprehensible. The entire Atlantic region is about to be overrun with a concurrent exponential increase in costs and drop in revenue. But few may appreciate this because to discuss the particulars of this problem is as difficult as it is dangerous. It's difficult because the problem has multiple facets and it has no one clear solution. And it's dangerous because politicians are not supposed to stand in front of crowds like this and tell you to eat your vegetables. So that's where we find ourselves. Caught between a pending crisis and a significant but understandable resistance to change. So it's the kind of thing that might drive a man to put up his feet and say, "Shag it." But a defeatist attitude is neither natural or necessary. And frankly, it's not us. I believe, and the Premier believes, and the Prime Minister believes, that there is a pathway forward. And before we get to the specifics of the Atlantic Growth Strategy, bear with me for a few minutes, because I want to talk a bit about the concept that underlies the strategy. You do not have to go far in this province to witness the impacts of the global economy. Whether it is the hole left by the old mill in Grand Falls, Windsor, or the spaces where fish plants used to be in the outports, or the Texas twang that you might hear the odd night in downtown St. John's, we are inextricably linked to the global market. Now, people often refer to the global market as if it's one thing, as if it's some kind of giant Costco floating out on the Azores where you bring all your products to market. And that is a foolish way to look at it. The global market is simply shorthand. It is shorthand to say that what used to be inaccessible now isn't. The global market is simply shorthand to say that firms who are able to position themselves in a competitive way can access a market measured in billions, not thousands. We can sell our lobster online. We can sell our lobster on Alibaba, which is the Chinese eBay. which has 400 million customers. With the Briar in town, think of Brad Bushu. Brad could have stayed and compete in Ballyhaley, and without question, he would dominate any tournament at Ballyhaley. But he and his team decided to take on the world. And you can't become a world champion unless you subject yourself to that level of competition. You can't subject yourself unless you apply. Cedar Cobb could have had the sweetest little B&B Joe Bat's arm ever did see. But she knew that we have what it takes to be a global destination. And that we have the products here that can be, that are global leaders. And she is 26th best hotel in the world in her first year. Nothing in Canada, nothing else in Canada comes close to Fogo Inn. She's made 3 full-page stories in the New York Times. But we are not all Zetas and Brads. They willingly marched into that level of competition, and it is undoubtedly terrifying for most of us. It's daunting, for me included. But what we have to realize is that it doesn't matter if you're afraid of the wind. The storm's coming. If we try to close ourselves off to that global market, if we try to build a fortress Newfoundland and Labrador, we will atrophy into an economic backwater. We will wither as industries consecutively fail, and we will be left with little to support ourselves with. The fear of failure is embodied in the idea of the fear of the other, the fear of those who are different from us, and in a fear of evolving our traditions to a new reality. 2 weeks ago, the CDC ran a story stating that 1 in 4 Canadians agreed with Trump-like border controls. So let me translate that for you. 1 in 4 Canadians harbor some feelings of xenophobia. That's what that means. I would go as far to say that there are probably some people in this room today who don't think that, though, who think that, let's say, extreme vetting is probably a good idea for Canada. And I'm here to tell you that you are wrong. If you want to succeed in the global market, you need to have global citizens. You need to think like a global citizen. Not only that, but when you've got a rapidly aging population, you need to create the factors for successful immigration to make sure that your economy at least remains self-sustaining. Welcoming new people in Newfoundland and Labrador is the best, and it's the fastest way to ensure we can address the demographic and economic conditions that I just discussed with you earlier. And I'm not just saying that because it is the politically correct thing to say. I'm saying that because my grandfather was a refugee. My grandfather came to the country of Newfoundland from Dublin. He was fleeing the Irish Civil War, which came after the Anglo-Irish War, and all that pretty much made Dublin look like what Aleppo looks like today. His physical injuries were obvious, the emotional ones less so. But he fled a dangerous country, and he came here to find peace and to pursue success. And he became a railway doctor, and later became the chief surgeon at St. Clair's. At that time, Irish immigrants were treated with the same contempt and vitriol that is levied at other immigrants today. Some Irish forget that. I don't. Racism has not abated, it has simply changed targets. And it is veiled in dog whistle politics. It's insidious, and it's fueled by irrational fear, and it underpins the position of 1 in 4 Canadians who feel our borders need tightening. Our borders do not need to be tightened, they need to be widened. We need to attract people to this country, to this region, and to this province who will help us succeed. They can bring us fresh ideas. They can bring an abundance of perspiration and elbow grease that will help us compete globally. Global citizens simply see the world as a smaller place. They realize that the ability for our products, for our province to succeed in Belfast, in Berlin, or Bangkok, we can open ourselves to their potential and they can introduce us to ours. We need to start recognizing that we are not stranded to the east of North America. We are not on the arse end of Canada. We are in the center of the G7. When I was 25 and looking to go away to grad school, a 3-hour flight got me to Toronto, at a place and a time when Newfie jokes still ran rampant, when polite mainland condescension could keep you from getting promoted or even hired. So I said, shag that. A 4-hour flight got me to Heathrow, the gateway to Europe, gateway to the world. I studied in Dublin, where they didn't condescend, they were intrigued. I was exotic. Jesus, talk like us, but I can't quite place it. But I left there and I graduated from Cambridge University. And I worked in Paris at one of the best business schools in the world. With the pending adoption of CETA, Newfoundland and Labrador sits at the center of east-west trade between Canada and the European Union. Our resources and our resourcefulness provide us with an advantage that we squander at our peril. So in my mind, it's simple. For us to succeed on the global economy and for us to help address the realities that we face as a province, we need to encourage people to become not just new Canadians, but new Newfoundlanders, new Labradorians. Once we start making those international connections and realizing just how small the world truly is, then we can begin to achieve our international potential. Now, I can't do that. I'm a member of Parliament. I can help fast track the odd residency application or the odd work permit, but a market-wide impact requires two critical groups to come to the table. It requires businesses like the ones here today to recognize that potential opportunities before them, and it requires that provincial and federal governments take the necessary policy steps to support the achievement of those opportunities. And that's where we find the Atlantic Growth Strategy. The Atlantic Growth Strategy is built on 5 pillars. I'll run through them with you. First of all, skilled labor and immigration. We need to develop a skilled workforce and make Atlantic Canada a destination of choice for immigrants. 2, innovation. We need to foster innovation by supporting small firms that want to scale up, while spurring on value-added opportunities in established industries. 3, clean growth and climate change. We need to recognize that clean jobs are critical to the economic growth of our future. In addition, clean industries will have a structural advantage in the global market as consumers realize the importance of environmental impact. Fourthly, trade and investment. We need to increase trade links between Atlantic Canada and international markets by championing Atlantic Canadian products that can compete anywhere. And fifthly, infrastructure. We need to invest in regionally significant infrastructure projects that support long-term growth and enhance our productivity. So by focusing on those 5 pillars, the Government of Canada and the governments of Newfoundland and Labrador, and Nova Scotia and New Brunswick and Prince Edward Island believe that global success is achievable for this region. As a first step, the Minister of Immigration, Refugees and Citizenship announced the Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program. This 3-year immigration pilot project will admit up to 2,000 more immigrants and their families in 2017. And this program is designed to address the unique labor market challenges that face our province. We've also developed the Accelerated Growth Service Program to help create a one-stop shop for government support. So, and let me take a moment to expand on those two programs. The Atlantic Immigration Pilot Program contains within it 3 new employer-driven permanent residence immigration programs. So if anyone in this room is facing a skills shortage in our office right now, these are the programs that you want to be taking a look at. The key difference between the pilot program and the ordinary immigration process is the recognition of the need to assist new immigrants in establishing roots in a particular area like ours. So if you can identify a skill shortage in your organization and you obtain approval under the program, you'll work with a settlement service provider, like the Association of New Canadians, to assist your identified candidate in settling comfortably into Canada. This helps you find and acquire skilled talent. It helps new residents to settle comfortably into Canada, and it helps our province grow its population base. The Accelerated Growth Service basically acts as a government support hub for high-growth companies, providing assistance in areas like financing, advisory support, export, and innovation services. Probably going to get into a little trouble for saying this, but basically, the Accelerated Growth Service is a recognition that between the federal and provincial governments, there is no lack of forms to be completed. The program is designed to help target companies achieve support in an effective and efficient manner. Each participating company has a dedicated client lead who is supported by a representative from each government department. So think of them as your Sherpa on the journey of government funding. That's how Oprah would have said it. They know where the main attractions are, though, and they also know about the smaller programs that may be useful to you, but maybe not as well known. Now, I'll admit on the surface this doesn't sound like a whole lot. But when you step back for a moment and you realize the scope of the change, that the Atlantic provinces are working together on a problem that can get you fast-tracked for both skilled labor and funding support, it represents the kind of proactive government program that really makes a practical difference in the success of your business. Now, for those of you who don't know me very well, to speak diplomatically, I am a nerd. I love science. I love how incredibly complex it is, but at the same time, breathtakingly simple. So you think of fire. Fire needs 3 things: fuel, air, heat. It's called the fire triangle, and as long as you get all 3, then you got a fire. Our economy is no different. As long as you've got an excellent product, a willing business community, and a supportive government, then you'll succeed. The Atlantic Growth Strategy is our contribution to igniting the economy of our home. Our contribution is helping ignite and keep burning the passion and commitment that is present in this room today. Together we can keep our province strong, and together we will succeed. I've spoken with you today about our demographic statistics, about our economic situation, and about our political realities. I've spoken with you about my thoughts on how a province like Newfoundland and Labrador, just 500,000 people in the middle of the North Atlantic, can be, and I believe will be, players in the global market. And I've spoken with you about the Atlantic Growth Strategy and demonstrated 2 key programs that I encourage each and every one of you to look into today. But with all that said, I'd like to leave you with one thought. In the last few weeks, we have already heard about the number of people coming north over the border, fearing the current climate in the United States. They are not trudging through the snow and the wilderness to take your job. They aren't losing their fingers to frostbite to grow rich on social assistance. They are risking their lives to make a life for their families. These individuals arrive on our doorstep, having already achieved incredible things. You just think about what it takes to walk for days in the wilderness with wind chill in winter. Now imagine if we took that dedication and that commitment and put that to work for us here in Newfoundland and Labrador. Imagine that. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Seamus. Thank you so much for joining us today and sharing all those thoughts with us. My mind is kind of reeling here. We too see the challenges of the Board of Trade that you've outlined today. And as a board, we are working on becoming a catalyst for developing an economic blueprint for our province. We too feel that we can seize on the opportunities that exist in the global market, and that the right strategy will certainly put us on the path to success. And you referenced the wind in your speech. Most Newfoundlanders aren't afraid of a wind, so I think we'll be good. Thanks again, Seamus, for speaking with us today. We have a couple of great events coming up later this month. Our annual St. Paddy's Day Mixer is taking place on March 15th. Opportunities North is happening on March 7th. And to round up the month, we have Sean Wilshire talking on diversity, innovation, and the bottom line on March 30th. Please visit stjohnsbot.ca/events for more details on any of our upcoming events. As always, could I please ask you to leave your name tags on the table? And thank you for coming out for our business community. Thank you, everyone, and enjoy the rest of your day.